Hello and welcome to Let Me Bore You to Sleep. This is Healing Thursday, the new season of Thursday recordings. My name is Jason Newland. Please only listen when you can safely close your eyes. My website's jasonnewland.com. It's really important, specifically for this recording, that just to let you know that this is not in any way a replacement for professional and medical help. So if you got something physically or mentally going on that's troubling you, then please, you need to seek help from a doctor or a nurse or go to the hospital. So this isn't a replacement for anything. This is just a weekly that's a bit high pitch, isn't it? Something that might be of use, something that may help in some ways, and I'll go more into that in this recording. This will be kind of like an introduction, I guess, to the Healing Thursdays, or Healing Thursday. So, also just to let you know, I've got a Facebook group called Jason Newland's Boring Group, and it's private, but you're welcome to join. And it's really for people that are regular listeners to the podcasts, regular people. It's a place where you can contact me and I will respond. So if you post something on there or ask me a question, you'll get an answer, because there's I think 188 people. So there's not a lot of people in the group, but it's very personal, very personalised. And Molly is the boss of the group. She's the admin, and she takes care of all that stuff. So a big shout out to Molly, the boss. This recording's for you. So, what is this? What am I doing? Why is it under the Let Me Bore You to Sleep umbrella when it's clearly not a Let Me Bore You to Sleep recording, kind of? Well, it is, because it's me talking. So I'm just going to be doing things the way I do them. So I'll just be talking to you the same way as I do with any of my other recordings. But there'll also be some other stuff, some ideas that maybe can sink in, some thoughts that maybe you hadn't considered, possibly. So it's just chatting. You could say it's almost like the Let Me Bore Your Pain Away, similar kind of thing. But although that's a good idea, actually, I might do that on Saturday. Let Me Bore Your Pain Away Saturday. Saturday Pain Away. Yeah. So I just get excited. I've filled up every single day now, apart from Thursday and Saturday. So I've got Monday. I can't remember what it is. Monday's Boring Objects. Tuesday, Trivia Tuesday. Whisper Wednesday. Today now is Healing Thursday. I've already got the Q&A Friday, which I've been doing for about 4 months now. And there's the Sunday papers, which I'm thinking on Sunday I might, instead of just reading through the papers for Sunday, I might go through the whole week and just do like a summary maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Vinny's in the background eating a pig's ear, which is grim. It's very grim. It's just yeah, it is actually horrible. But hey, especially for me, because I'm fairly much a vegetarian. I'm kind of semi-vegetarian, have been for decades. And yeah, oh, he's looking at me like he knows I'm talking about him, that's why. So you will, if you're listening to this for the first time and wondering, what is he going on about? Well, I got a little Jack Russell, little red Jack Russell, he wears white socks on his feet and his little white gloves, and got a white belly. He's tiny little thing, and he's part of this podcast. He's kind of like, I guess, the mascot, really. And there's a picture of him on the Let Me Bore You to Sleep podcast. He is the picture on the logo, wearing headphones. And a big helicopter is now going past. Ooh. So, I'll be totally honest with you. I don't know what I'm going to talk about in this recording, because this is something that I've only just decided to do. It's requested, but I just wasn't sure how I was going to do it. And I figured the best way for me to be consistent is if I set myself a target of doing one every Thursday. Just like I did with the Q&A Fridays. I've not missed one of them yet. I don't think I have. I might have done one late, like on a Saturday, but I've never actually missed a week. So for 4 months. And this is going to be one of those. It's going to be another day which I will just feel compelled to do. And potentially next Thursday, it will be a bit more, maybe a bit more prepared, possibly. As prepared as I'm ever going to be. I do put a fair amount of faith in the right words or the right energy coming out. Just being there, that makes sense. Because my intention is to help, and I hope that in some way comes across in the recording. That positive energy, healing energy is able to transfer through my voice. And I don't mean it in any kind of spiritual or esoteric kind of a way, just generally. I mean, energy isn't, it's a fact, It's been proven that we all have energy, we're made up of energy, and energy does move around, and so it's not like a pretend. It's not something you need to believe in for it to be true. What I find is when I close the window, close the door, pull the curtains closed, the air gets a little bit stagnant. Because normally I have the door open. I like the air to flow, and I got the window open most of the time, even in the winter. But I find that this gets a little bit. I mean, there's air in here. There is oxygen in it, but and there's the heat from the telly. Turn the TV off, but it just feels a little bit stagnant. But it's okay. So, what could this recording be useful for going forward? And I must just say, if Vinny doesn't always make lots of noise, on this occasion I did give him that treat just now in the hope that it'd keep him quiet, but actually it's kind of doing the opposite, really, isn't it? But I like him to be. I like being with him, so I like him being with me. So he's part of this. Plus, here's something I do, which I don't normally tell people. When I'm not feeling too well, and I'm in bed and he's in bed with me, I put my hand on him, and I kind of imagine that he's healing me. Like my hand, the energy, the healing energy from him is moving into me. So let's say if it was my head, that I maybe had a headache, or maybe just felt a bit tense, or just didn't feel too good, I just imagined that healing energy was moving from him through my hand, up my arm, and spreading through my body. And it works. I actually feel, as far as how I feel, it works. I do feel more relaxed, and my mind calms down. I guess maybe it's something to do with, I guess I could get the same feeling if I had a child, knowing that, say I had a 2-year-old child or whatever, knowing that whenever I held that child's hand or cuddled that child, that child was healing me, and in a deeply emotional way. Because especially if it was my child, then I would be sharing that DNA with that child. So that was if I'd given birth to the child as well. And there's something about that energy, is you're getting healing energy, almost like from yourself, in a way. I know it's not from yourself, but it kind of feels I suppose there's that connection. I mean, I've got a connection with Vinny, but, he's not biologically mine. But because I don't have any children, but if I had a child, that connection would be there. And there's a certain, I've noticed that in the past, when I've dated in the past women that have had kids, and there was one particular person, she had her son was about a year old, and he really took to me. I was about 25, she was about 27, and this was back in 1995, so it's a long time ago. But this kid, this baby, really, was still a baby, absolutely adored me. And I always felt relaxed whenever I held him. And he always was relaxed whenever I held him as well. So if he was crying, I'd go up to his cot and he'd put his arms up, holding them out for me to hold him. And I'd pick him up and I'd sing to him. And he was, I'm not saying he purred like a cat, but that's weird. But how cats purr, because they're happy, they're relaxed. Blimey, I don't think he's ever made that much noise on a treat before. Bless him. But there was that feeling, even though it wasn't my son, there was that maybe an exchange of energy. So I was offering the energy of like calming down, singing to him so that he could relax. And in turn, I was also feeling relaxed as well. And we had this bond, and he wasn't even my kid. I went away for a couple of months, or maybe 6-7 weeks, and he had a big asthma attack. So I came back to London to see him and to see her as well, because I was still with her. I'd moved away for a bit. And the first thing he did, because he was on a defibrillator in a hospital, had really, really bad asthma attack, and he put his arms out. That's the first thing he did so that I could hold him. I hadn't seen him for like six weeks. Remembered me, and just like a rabbit. No, but he remembered me. I think rabbits have got good memories, I think, and there was something special about that, because I almost felt that his breathing had improved. I felt like I was giving him healing. There was that as well. I've had those kind of situations in the past where, and I can't say that this is true. I mean, it's true what I'm saying, but I can't say that, I can't prove that any of this stuff is really, it happened because of what happened, if that makes sense. So, I had a friend. I used to live in this house. I lived in lots of houses. This is 2004. I lived in this house where there was 4 serious alcoholics living there, and the other room was a crack den. I know it's hard to. Sounds like a weird kind of setup, but it was. And the crack den got shut down by the police, but he was lovely as well. I got on with everyone. Only one person didn't really talk to me, but everyone else I got on really well with. And I'd stopped drinking that year. 2004, didn't have any alcohol due to the anxiety and stuff, so I decided no more alcohol for a year, take a break from everything. And one of the men, who was probably my age, maybe 60, he got rushed to hospital because he had liver failure. What do they call it when you go yellow? That he had that thing, and it was really touch and go whether or not he'd even survive. And he was in a coma. I think he was unconscious anyway, and he was on a drip in hospital and had like B vitamin thing going into him, and he couldn't have been in the coma because I don't think he had the mask thing on, but he was definitely out of it. And I visited him, so I sat there. I didn't really know him that well. He was a lovely bloke, but I lived in the same house. I'd only known him for 6 months. So I visited him, and he wasn't there. He was asleep or unconscious. So I held his hand. Bearing in mind, this was at a time when I was really into hypnosis, really wanting to help people. And I'm really into Buddhism as well. So I held his hand, and I just imagined that I was sending healing energy into him, and I did it for probably half an hour, sat there, and it was kind of, you could say it was a mixture between meditation and praying even, I don't know. It was definitely much more than wishing someone well. So I was wishing, in Buddhism, there's certain meditation where they call it the metta bhavana, and you wish someone well. You start with someone that you like. It's very easy to wish someone that you like well. And then you start off with someone, then you go to someone, you do that for maybe 5 minutes, Then you move on to someone that you don't know, or that you kind of know a little bit, and then you move on to someone that you don't know at all. Then you move on to someone that you don't care about. Like you just like you know, you're not worried either way. You've got no feelings about them. I'm probably getting this wrong, but you know, there's a few different versions. And then then you go to someone that you have an issue with, maybe someone you dislike or someone that's been rude to you. So it doesn't have to be someone that you hate, because you might not have that, but it might be someone that recently has been unkind. And then you move on to wishing those people well. Imagine them in a group, wishing them well, and then expanding outwards towards the other people, maybe in the building, the other people in the streets, the people in the town, moving all the way across the country and the world, just expanding it. And it can be as simple as, I wish you well, I wish you happy, I wish you, you know, wish you whatever words you want to use, really. Let them be happy, let them be well. And it was kind of a similar thing like that, but just focused on him in the hospital bed. Really not so much hoping, but believing that he's going to be okay. Really believing that the vitamins that he had, the medication, because that's medication, isn't basically, for his liver, was going to go into his body, into his blood supply, and cleanse his liver out. I don't know the medical stuff connected to this, but he had a lot of organ issues. His whole body had kind of shut down temporarily. And I left. I kissed him on the forehead. Now, this is a time when, firstly, I wouldn't hold someone's hand. I definitely wouldn't kiss them on the face. I wouldn't kiss a man on the face. Not even someone I knew, really. I kiss everyone now, I don't care, but I always kiss my dad when I see him. I kiss him, kiss him on the cheek. You know, whether we're in public, I don't care. Give him a big hug. But back then I wasn't really, you know, a huggy kind of person. And it was kind of, it felt inappropriate to be kissing someone when they're unconscious, you know. But it wasn't a weird thing. I just genuinely wanted him to get well. Because seeing him there, I mean, it was yellow. I mean, I've never seen anyone like that before. And he normally had quite good colour into his skin. Not as much as me. I'm pink. I'm quite an exceptional weird colour. I sunburn in the winter. But I didn't know if what I did was of any use. It felt like it was useful to me, which was a weird thing. I kind of felt like I'd tried to do something, because my initial intention was to visit him, but if he was awake, I could talk to him and maybe do some relaxation stuff with him, you know. But I did still talk to him, but he was unconscious. I forgot to mention that. I did talk to him, but it was more a very low, I didn't really want everyone else to hear what I was saying. So it was a very kind of low volume, I was quite close to him. And I wasn't like whispering in his ear, because that would have probably been a bit weird. I wasn't holding a loudspeaker either, you know. It was quite low volume. So talking to him for about half an hour, and it was just positive stuff, just I don't know, really just telling him that he's going to be okay, telling him that his body is going to heal, telling him to keep going, to believe that you're going to be well, to believe that you are going to recover. Trust in your immune system, trust in your own healing within, which we all have. Trust in that internal healing that you have to make those changes, to correct things that maybe have gone wrong, and to move you forward towards being well again. And perhaps it's okay to start feeling well again instead of waiting. And as I've got, I left, I'll just tell you this story. I left and I went home. And I generally, I didn't know if I was even going to see him again. But I didn't say goodbye and anything like that. I was very positive, but on reflection, when I left, I was like, oh, that was weird. I didn't know I was going to do that. I don't know what people would have thought if they'd have seen me doing that. I wonder if he could hear me. What would he have to say? Because I didn't have that kind of relationship with him. We had a jokey relationship. We didn't have a serious kind of thing. And I'm quite a jokey person, although I can be serious. And I know a lot of people, I don't think they realise that. But there needs to be a reason for it. For me, I need to, if I get in the zone, but I can also joke around as well, interweave it, because I don't think everything has to be like super serious, even super serious stuff, because it seems, and this is all just coming from me, there's no right or wrong, and what I'm saying is not necessarily right. If we can keep hold of not just the things that we're grateful for, but also keep hold of our sense of humour. And I know it's not always easy to do that in life. And it's not, it wouldn't be normal to be joking all the time about every single thing, because we wouldn't be a human being, would we, I guess, if we did that. But to be able to keep hold of being able to see the funny side of things, even if it's not necessarily funny, but at the same time still have that love for yourself, that respect for yourself and your health, and to also, take what's going on seriously enough in order for you to allow positive suggestions to enter into your mind and to affect you in a healthy way, in a way that can change. Can't believe he's making so much noise. Change how you feel. There's not a person in the planet that would make a recording with a dog eating a bone in the background. I'm probably the only person that does that. That's my USP, unique selling. Well, it's not selling, is it? But it's that energy. You know, I discovered I read a lot and listen to a lot of audiobooks. And I've been studying self-help since, really studying it since 1997. And I've had multiple books. I used to listen to a lot of audiobooks even back then. And I've been continuing to do that to this day. There's been periods when I haven't, I'll be honest, there's been periods when I haven't got in, that I've had breaks where I've not really listened to anything. But generally, I have been listening to all audiobooks, and especially since YouTube and with Audible and with the online stuff, it's a lot easier to listen to stuff without having to pay out loads of money for each individual CD. And the one common thing, the common theme that I've found in probably the hundreds of books that I've either read or listened to is, it really can be summed up with, it's not my sentence, by the way, this is Napoleon Hill. Not Napoleon Hill. No. Blimey. I forget his name. I'll think about it. I'll think of it in a minute. It's Napoleon Hill did the book, wrote the book. Don't worry about it. I'll think about it. Earl Nightingale, that's it. Earl Nightingale had this saying, which was, "We become what we think about." And it's the first sentence out of all the things I've heard. A lot of sentences have jumped out of a book and hit me in the eye a few times, where it's like, wow, really kind of wow. That sentence almost sums up the entirety of everything all in one place. And it might sound weird, and I remember I used to have it on below my television probably about 6 years ago, and someone came up here and he couldn't, what does that mean? We become what we think about. What does it mean? Don't know what it means. And I just assumed that everyone would know. So but I haven't just took it as face value. There's so many different versions of the same sentence. Another one is, "You are what you do repeatedly." I've got that written on the wall. And I got that from a martial arts website. And it's, we become what we think about. It's so true. So if that's the case, and I believe it, because I've seen it, I've experienced it, and I've been through, this isn't really about me, but I'll make it about me, hey. Oh, incidentally, I get home and I think I go and visit my dad or my nan, and I come back to the house. Who's standing there? Him, the bloke. The next day, he's out of hospital. Fine. Absolutely fine. Laughing. He had a bit of a headache. and he was off the beer. He wasn't allowed to drink alcohol, and he had medication he had to take. He didn't stop out to drinking. He didn't stop drinking alcohol. After that, he did for a little while, but hey, that's not really the point. That's up to him what he does. But I'm not saying that me, because trust me, I'm not saying that me talking to him or holding his hand, imagining healing going into his body, and talking to him about how your immune system will become stronger, and you're going to notice how relaxed you feel. Notice your mind slowing down, and that positivity will increase. And it kind of almost opens you up for that healing energy to spread through your body. And the thing is, we do have an immune system, and the whole idea of healing it's not like a weird fairy tale. You get a cut finger. If you filmed your finger for the next week, you would see it heal. If you just, that'd be a bit boring just to stand there putting your finger in front of a camera. But our bodies heal. They don't heal as quickly as Wolverine from the X-Men, but it's the equivalent of that, but just in a slower way, as far as, like a cut and stuff. And also, is that every 7 years, every particle of our body is replaced. Everything's replaced every 7 years. So not one part of our body is the same as what it was 7 years ago. I partly made that up, but I think it's true. We regenerate. But it's at such a slow level that you can't tell. But then you think about it, if our bodies regenerate, our internal organs regenerate, why not regenerate in a way that's healthier? So let's say if I had an issue with my right wrist or my left wrist, I always see silly jokes that I can find. Okay, anyway, let's say it's my wrist. So if my wrist is going to heal, it's going to regenerate over a period of, let's say, 7 to 10 years, then why not have the parts that were causing discomfort to just be replaced, or maybe leave that out? Don't need that stuff, really. There's some studies done with people with back. It was basically to help people with back pain. And not random, but the studies, X-rays were done of lots and lots and lots of people, just the general public, and they looked at these X-rays of people's backs, and nearly everyone over a certain age had back injuries, just part of being alive. Most of them didn't have any back pain. Some of the people that had back pain had hardly anything wrong with their back, or their backs were no way as damaged as other people that were experiencing no physical discomfort at all. So, and they couldn't really work out why that is. Another thing I've noticed over the years is I've known some people who become their illness, who have in themselves, it's like it's taken over their life. I understand how that can happen. I really do. But I've known people where literally all they will talk about is their condition, so almost that it becomes them instead of something that they've got. It becomes something that's got them. And there's a particular person I've known for a long time. I didn't see her for a while, and she or he was always quite negative, but quite funny as well. Quite nice to be around, but fairly negative about health. I saw them after about 3 years, and they'd progressed to the point of being very difficult to be around. They'd almost, like they were starting to believe themselves, like something was being done to them, and like they were almost being punished. And I don't believe that that's useful to have those kinds of beliefs, to believe like, this is why I've got this condition, because I'm being punished, because whatever. Like, no. That's of no use. And if that is going on, I suggest get that gone, because it's not going to help. But at the same time, ignoring stuff doesn't help either. So it's a fine line. If someone needs medical attention, they need to get medical attention. But recently, I had a small thing with my blood sugar level. And they said, and my cholesterol. So I had to reduce my sugar level and all that stuff because I was pre-diabetic. My cholesterol was too high, and they offered to put me on statins or something. And I said, no, I'll get it down again. I'll get that down. I'll get the sugar level down. I'll work on it. So I lost 1.5 stone. We start singing There's a Hero. There's a hero. Blimey. I managed to make it about me. Did you notice that? This is going to be annoying to some people. I know there's some people who listen to this, and if they never heard me before, they'll just think, what? What is he on about? Does he know what he's doing? He's just talking rubbish. Which, yeah, to a degree perhaps is true. But then you got to think, well, but am I talking complete rubbish? Or is it just partially rubbish? So I didn't want to go on to the statins. Is it statins? Something like that. And I lost weight, got everything down. I found out yesterday, doctors phoned me, told me that my cholesterol was high. The bad cholesterol was high. And they again offered me, it was lower than what it was, so I had got it down, but not to a level that they were happy with. And they again tried to put me on statins, and I said no. I'm give me 6 more months to get it down. So I just have to cut out saturated fats. So everything else is good, blood pressure, all that stuff. So it was, I guess it's just believing that things are fine, but at the same time choosing what is correct, but getting medical advice. I didn't decide not to take the statins on my own. I discussed it with the nurse, and she explained, what the side effects might be, and she did say if it's not down in 6 months' time, then I'm going to have to go on them to get the cholesterol down, the bad cholesterol down. Now I know that I'm going to get, in 6 months' time, when I get tested again, it will be much, much lower, because I'm determined. I lost weight, got my blood pressure down, I got my blood sugar level down, everything else, and that will all go down even more. So I know I can do it, and there's not one bit of doubt in me. I already got it down, so I did reduce it, but I didn't know I needed to reduce it as much, and I was still sometimes eating stuff I shouldn't. Not every day, but more than I should. And it's going to be easy to cut out that stuff. I'm not sure how much I'm going to enjoy eating, but it's fine. It's okay. I'll try and find something that I can eat that hasn't got saturated fats in, that tastes nice. I'm gonna do some research to see if such a thing exists. But it seems to be something more than just believing that you're going to be okay, believing that you're going to heal, and believing that you're going to recover. This is like a step above that, where you just know. As much as you know that when you go to bed in the evening, you wake up and the sun's going to rise. Even if it's cloudy, you know the sun's there. Because if the sun wasn't there, we wouldn't be here, It's as simple as that. There's oxygen. Because if there wasn't, we wouldn't be here. It's just simple things that we know. Don't have to believe it for it to be true. So when you move beyond believing to just knowing, or not even needing to know, it's just when something's not even a question, not even sometimes even worth questioning, because you know what the answer is, and you know that you're going to be okay, and you know that you're going to heal, and you know that you're going to recover, and you get through it. Because you've always got through it. You've always got through everything that's happened, because you're here. Regardless of how difficult it's been, you've managed to get through to the other end. And this is the same. And when you know it, not believe it, but know it, and maybe you have to move from uncertainty to positivity, to optimism, to eventually believing, and then knowing. Or you can just skip that and go straight to knowing, where it's not an argument, it's not a question, it's not a discussion, it's just fact. You're going to be fine. Your body is built to heal. Sometimes it needs help. Sometimes it needs medical help from a doctor, or with medication, or medical procedures. It needs a help. But the best help you can give yourself, in addition to whatever you are required, whatever your doctor says you need to have, is to really know in your mind, really know that you're going to recover, that you're going to feel relaxed. And when you feel relaxed in your mind, you feel relaxed in your body. When you feel relaxed in your body, you feel relaxed in your mind. Now, these are facts. This isn't an opinion. I've been doing this for a long time, and I know. As far as I do it myself, but I also know that you can't not feel relaxed, more relaxed in your body when you're relaxed in your mind. And the more relaxed you are in your mind, the more relaxed you will become in your body. And it's just a continuous circle, really. And when your mind feels relaxed and you've got that feeling of certainty, there's something, it takes away stress. It's almost like it just evaporates the tension. Because then you get to find out really what's what, is if that anxiety or tension or physical distress is caused by anxiety or tension rather than by anything else. Once that reduces, when I spent years doing chronic pain relief sessions from 2004 onwards actually, but 2006 online, and one of my little catchphrases on my website at the time was relaxation equals pain relief, reduction in pain. Relaxation equals pain relief. And it is that simple. I'm not saying that it gets rid of everything. It's not about that. But if you can reduce by a fraction, if you can reduce someone's physical discomfort by 10%, that really could make the difference that's required to then. The thing is, once you've knocked 10% off of a feeling, and that feeling that was discomfort before has reduced by 10%, it's kind of only one way to go, isn't there? I mean, you can put it up if you want. Why would you want to? You know that you can change the level of feeling that you have because you've done it in the past, probably multiple times. I imagine if you hurt your foot and maybe you got your foot up and its ankle is swollen or whatever, and it's like it's all you can think about. Oh, and then you see that you've just won the lottery. How much thought are you going to give to your ankle? There's not one person, I don't think, in the planet would put that lottery ticket down and think, yeah, but my ankle hurts. No. They won't even feel the ankle. The ankle, even if the ankle's broken, it'd still be broken, but they wouldn't be focusing on that at all. In the same way as, you can feel sorry for yourself walking down the street and then you see someone that needs help and you go and help them, and for that period of time you forget all about your own stuff. And maybe onwards, when that's over, it might just be as simple as helping someone across the road or helping someone with their shopping, or maybe something a bit more serious. So it's a distraction, of course. Yeah, it's a distraction. It's like magic tricks are a distraction, aren't they? but also because you're focusing on a different pathway of focusing, and you're focusing on kindness and caring about someone else. So then, or wishing that person well. So once you've got that in your mind, you're now in that frame of mind of wishing health and wellness and wishing well for someone. Those feelings can then be absorbed within you, so that when you start thinking about yourself, some of that will go inwards, so that you're wishing yourself well. And because you've helped someone, they're going to be positive towards you. That positive energy from them may well affect you, because we can, even it might not be necessarily something that can be proven, like scientifically necessarily. Perhaps it can, but I don't know. We can be affected by other people, can't we? I know I can. And have you ever walked into a room and two different scenarios, you've seen two people together and you know there's something going on? You might walk in on two people and know that they're clearly having fun. Maybe they're joking around. They might stop when you walk in, but you know that it's a good vibe. Or you might walk in and it's kind of a romantic vibe, you know? Or you could walk in and be two different people where it's a really unpleasant vibe. Energy rather than vibe, I guess. And that's just from walking into the room and not knowing anything about either of those people. So we're affected by each other. We affect others, they affect us. There are ways we can put shields up so that other people don't affect us negatively. So there's lots of different ways of doing that. And it's all about thought. It's about visualizing maybe and imagining things. There's something I used to do, blimey, years and years ago. And when I was on a bus, especially during kind of cold season, flu season, I used to imagine that I had a bubble around me and other people's germs, if people were sneezing or whatever, it couldn't penetrate that bubble, that force field. And it reduced my anxiety. Because I struggled a little bit being in that environment. And what I realised, and I was doing that, and I thought, there's something else I could do. Because this is okay, there's one thing having this force field up in my mind, right? Imagining it. But wouldn't a nicer thing to do is to add to that and imagine that all of this, the energy was coming out of my head, top of my head, and spraying all over, landing on everyone in the bus. Healing energy, healing them of any physical issues like colds or flu, coughs or any stuff like that. And that's what I started to imagine, that it was just healing them and wishing them to be healed. And not in a weird romantic or religious way, but just almost like it was really happening. And just wishing, maybe believing, maybe just knowing perhaps that that's what was happening. And regardless of whether or not it was useful to them, it was definitely useful to me, because I went from being protective towards myself, with the old putting up this wall to protect myself from their germs, to reaching out, to helping, or to wanting to help, even to wanting to not physically touch them, but with energy to reach out and wish them to be healed. And I say, when I say the word healed, I don't mean it in a like I'm kind of got special powers or anything like that. That's not how I mean it. Or that I'm being delusional, or it's nothing like that. Just, it's imagination, just imagining that, if I see someone who's unwell, or, I do imagine that I can kind of reach out and help that person and send some energy to them, regardless if it's just all pointless doing it. It feels nice, and I think that heals me. It helps me. So, and that's the whole thing. That's another thing about you get what you get back what you give. So if you give love, you get love back. If you give healing, you get healing back. So you can give healing to others. You haven't got to tell them. You could just imagine that you're giving them, well wishes, and you wish them, and you're sending healing energy to them. But at the same time, you're also going to get that healing energy back. And then you've got the healing energy that you send to yourself. And these are things that you can just test, try out. It's not about taking my word for it. And I know some of it probably sounds a bit, I was going to say a little bit like Legoland, but that's not really, that doesn't make sense. It probably sounds a bit stupid, some of it. Sounds a bit weird, a bit fluffy, a bit, bit cuddly, a bit. But that's okay. I don't mind. Because I'm not really a fluffy person. I'm quite a practical person when it comes to this stuff. I just really believe that the way we think, the things we say to ourselves, the intentions we do have an effect on us, and it being possible for them not to. And you can test this out. It's as simple as if you balanced a book, put a book on your head. Remember the old finishing schools in England, like from, 100 years ago or whatever, and there used to be females that would go there, and they'd be trained to walk with a book on their head so that their posture was correct, which probably would be good for me, maybe with my back. So, and the idea was they'd walk up and down a hall without the book sliding. Yeah, if you were walking with that book, you can try this out yourself. So just put a thing on your head, a book on your head, and just balance it and walk maybe 20 foot. You could do it in a garden, maybe, if it's not windy, of course. And you might think, well, this is easy. Okay, well, now do it but at the same time saying to yourself, oh, or even out loud, I hope I don't drop it. I hope I don't drop it. I hope I don't drop the book. I hope I don't drop the book. Or imagine dropping the book. Yeah, you haven't got to say, you can do that, or you can just imagine dropping the book. The chances of you dropping it go up exponentially just by imagining dropping them, or it dropping the book off your head while you're walking, even though you can do it without doing that. You know you can do it without dropping it. And if you say to yourself, oh, I don't want to drop it, I don't want to drop it, or worse than that is, I'm going to drop it, then the likelihood of you dropping it goes up dramatically. They even did a study, there was another study where they did a tightrope walk, where they asked people to walk along a line on the floor. They could do it easy. But as soon as it was 2 foot off the ground, or even a foot off the ground, 2 foot, like they couldn't hurt themselves. There was no way, because it was so close to the ground. But as soon as it was off the ground, it became harder. And it wasn't a tightrope, it was like a board, like a wooden board. So like a plank of wood, because a tightrope wouldn't be right. So a plank of wood on the floor from one side of the room to the other, or maybe 10 foot, even 15 foot. When it's on the floor, easy. Once it's moved off the floor and it's between two, now Vinny's decided to get involved. So yeah, when it's off the floor, people struggle. And it's strange, like you couldn't hurt yourself. There's also been studies that, this is more psychological studies, imagining playing golf, practicing in your mind, can sometimes be just as good as actually practicing in real life. I mean, not all the time. I mean, you'd have to play, wouldn't you? But practicing in your mind helps. Practicing in your mind for a variety of different sports helps. Preparing to feel positive about a situation, whether it's a job interview, whether it's a date even, something like that. Practicing in your mind things going really well means that they generally will go really well. There's something I used to do, and this is, calm down, Viddy, okay? Calm down. It's something I used to do back in late 90s. I had this little weekend thing, and part of the job was collecting money on the door. I found it very difficult because it's suddenly like 200 people all coming in at the same time and with money, and it was just, I found that part of the evening sometimes very stressful. I struggled with it. But once that part of the evening was over, the rest of the evening was fine. And that lasted for about 45 minutes. Maybe an hour, So it's kind of, it was over and done with quite quickly. But I used to get stressed about it beforehand. So what I did is, when I was on the train, and it was like a 20-minute journey on the tube, I would close my eyes and I would imagine moving from basically going backwards, not in the train, but I'd start the evening at the end of the evening, sort of getting home, and I'd go back and I'd imagine all the stuff that happened from the end of the evening all the way through to the beginning of the evening. And then I'd go through it again, fast forward to the end, and then go backwards again, fast forward to the end, go, and just like rehearse, but at quite a fast speed, and then stopping at different parts, realising that I felt okay. And then I'd get to work, and it would go perfectly. It was easy. Zero stress. Because I'd eliminated it. I'd rehearsed. And I knew that everything was going to be fine. I knew how to do everything, so it wasn't like there wasn't going to be anything different from what I'd already experienced before. Generally, I mean, there's always a chance, but generally it was the same stuff. Just different people. And once I started doing that, it changed the evening for me. I was actually looking forward to getting to work. And part of that came from, because when we know we've got to go through something that's going to be difficult, and, this is going to be a difficult 7 months or 3 months or 10 weeks or whatever it's going to be. I realised years ago when I was a kid, because I used to get so dramatic sometimes, really about like it's the end of the world, unless I'd lost my job, lost where I was living, I was going to be homeless. All these things happen at the same time, and I'd be like 18 years old or 17, standing on the pier, not knowing what to do, just standing, nothing weird, but just looking out at the sea, like, what am I going to do? And then after a couple of years of living like that, I think you call it catastrophizing, which is what I used to do. It dawned on me that, wait a minute, that was a year ago. A year ago, I was standing on that pier, looking out to the sea, like probably singing some Michael Jackson song, knowing me, not knowing what to do. Blame It on the Boogie, I think, was a particular song that I was singing. Not knowing what to do. Don't have a job, don't have anywhere to live. But everything sorted itself out. A year later, I was fine. A month later, I was fine. So it's just realising that instead of catastrophizing, so I started to realise that I wasn't helping myself by catastrophizing, by that negativity. Wasn't helping me. And it still took me quite a few years to even learn from that. I started to become aware, but it was kind of a trap that, it was almost like a trap I'd set for myself, but I still kept falling into it. And I realised that basically every time I fell into that hole, I was falling in with a bag of dirt. And I fell in so many times that eventually I was only falling in a short part, because the dirt was going in with me every time. So it got to the point where there was no longer a hole. And the trap was gone. But it took ages, years, a little bit of self-awareness, maybe just a fraction. It took years for, there's a few traps out there probably, but for some of those holes to be filled and covered and no longer there. But it would have been easier had I just filled those holes in one go. Just got a concrete machine and just filled the hole in. Or put some signs up in my mind. And I know that, you could say, well, it's a blind spot. It's a blind spot for a reason. We can't see our blind spots, but we do. I think we can sometimes. We get to discover them. And once we discover them, they're no longer blind spots. So if you do discover something and you ignore it, you might forget that it's there. But if you do something about it in the moment, remove it, then it's gone. And it's amazing how some things can be forgotten so easily and other things will never be forgotten. So maybe something like a blind spot or something like a hole that we keep falling in due to the way that we think about our health, for example, and perhaps once you know it's there, you can never forget until it's filled in and it's safe again. If you had a big hole in the road, and I'm not talking about a pothole, like a dangerous hole, you wouldn't drive through it because your car would be damaged. Or worse. You'd only need to see it once to remember it and to know that something needs to be done. Just like if the roof blew off and you woke up and you're looking up at the sky, you're not going to wake up the next day surprised that you're looking at the sky, are you? In a month's time you wake up, the sky's still there. Blimey, I forgot about that. No, you're going to do something the very first time that you're looking up at the sky when you're lying in your bed, because there should be a ceiling there, a roof. So perhaps, as you know that there's those little traps that maybe we haven't set yourself, but it's there anyway, and maybe you've ignored it. And it could be just a simple trap of negativity. And by reminding yourself that you can choose to start feeling different, to start thinking differently. You can choose to say no, no more. You can say no to that and yes please to that. Open your mind to the possibilities, the fact that you're going to heal, the fact that you're going to recover, the fact that you have a future, and the future's going to be brilliant. Just so many happy memories to look forward to. They're not memories yet, but they will be. And you can remember times in the past that maybe you thought, like what I was saying about being catastrophic, thinking catastrophically, and you realise that you were wrong then. So maybe you're wrong now. Maybe it is time to realise that there's a lot of good things. There's a lot of positive things to look forward to. Starting to plan the future. Being healthy. Being happy. Now, this has just been a little introduction to what I'm going to be doing every Thursday. There'll be some exercises, there'll be some kind of, different things that I'll be talking about. The main tester is, how do you feel? How do you feel now compared to how you felt before you started listening? How do you feel, let's say if you listen to this every day of the week until next Thursday and you start listening to that one for a week? How do you feel having listened to it every day? So how will you feel in a couple of days' time? How do you feel in a week's time? How will you feel in a month's time? Notice how your stress levels have reduced, how your positivity has increased, how your sense of not just belief but knowing that you're going to be fine, that you're going to recover fully. And you're going to heal completely. And you know it. It's not just about believing, you actually know it. I wonder how that feels. So I'm going to go for now. You'll be able to listen to this with music, 5 hours and 10 hour versions, like all the other stuff I do. Remember to be kind to yourself because you deserve to be happy. And let that healing in. Allow yourself to know that you're going to heal, and that healing is going to spread throughout your whole body and your mind. Moving into the future, creating that pathway of positivity and something to look forward to. A life worth living. Lots of love.